The Canon 6D Mark II specs are announced. Check out my speculations on the specs in my previous video if you want to hear me get all suspicions wrong on what I thought the camera would have. I can say one thing honestly though, it sucks that there's no 4K, and I'm sure you guys agree. However, moving on from that, let's get to this video. So if you got cash in your hand and you want to buy a camera, and your choices for whatever reason are the 6D Mark II or GH5. Both cameras are priced at the 2K price point, but which one should you get? Well, it depends on what you want. Check out this camera angle. I got this angle with a 35mm Canon lens on both the 5D Mark IV at 1080p 60 frames a second and the GH5 UHD 60 frames a second. I used a Metabones Speedbooster for the GH5 to be able to use the same lens. When comparing the two cameras, one of the glaring differences between both is the shallow depth of field that you're able to get with a full frame sensor as opposed to a micro 4/3 crop sensor like the GH5. Many prefer the look of a full frame that the Canon Mark II can give you. Well, I put that to the test. Compare both of these shots. I used the same lens on both the 5D Mark IV and the GH5. 5D Mark IV has a 1080p 60 frames per second mode just like the 6D Mark II, so the results you'll get on this camera will be identical to the 6D Mark II. The question I pose to everyone is, which do you prefer? Can you even tell the difference? Is there one that stands out? This shot right here is the GH5, and this shot is the equivalent to the 6D Mark II. A quick way to tell is the GH5 is a tad sharper with its blur, while the 5D Mark IV is a bit softer thanks to the AA filter. I'm not sure if the 6D Mark II will have the AA filter, but if it doesn't, then you might see a bit more sharpness on the camera once it's released. While shooting this scene, I did have to pull back the GH5 to get as close to the field of view as the 5D as possible, due to the difference in focal length as a result of the crop sensor. So which one's right for you? Here are my recommendations. If you're looking for a setup with similar shots of this setup, meaning similar focal length and shallow depth of field, I'd say just bite the bullet and go for the Canon 6D Mark II with the Canon EF 35mm f2 USM lens. The total price is around $2,568.99. If you really want the GH5 for this shot instead, but want to keep it as inexpensive as possible, get the GH5 with the Panasonic Lumix G lens at 20mm f1.7. It'll cost you around $2,264.99. However, being honest, the f1.7 aperture will be equivalent to a 3.5 aperture on a full frame camera. However, you will get the same wide angle field of view as a 35mm full frame. If money's no object and video matters to you, and you want this particular focal length type of shot, I'd say go for the Voigtlander Nokton 17.5mm f0.95 lens and the GH5. That's a mouthful. It'll cost you $2,896, but it's a quick way to get your shot with the desired focal range. Plus the video codecs and the available formats mixed with the different settings available on the GH5 definitely make this the video camera of choice. Now the final choices, photos or video. If you're looking for a camera for photos, then there's no question. The Canon 6D Mark II is your obvious choice for photos. Don't ask why. Just buy the camera, a lens, and shoot photos. You'll see why. If you're looking for the best video solution, I'd say get the Panasonic GH5. But as an added expense, I recommend getting the Metabones Speedbooster. You can then get great full-frame lenses at a fraction of the cost than what would be an equivalent f-stop on a micro 4/3 camera. For example, that Voigtlander Nokton 17.5mm lens that I mentioned before is equivalent to a 35mm full-frame lens. The f-stop of f0.95 is not equivalent to a full-frame 0.95, so remember that. On a full frame, that would be equivalent to an f2 lens. So that lens cost about $899, and you get a manual aperture ring, which is cool, but no autofocus. For considerably less, at $509, you can pick up a Canon EF 28mm f1.8 USM wide-angle lens with image stabilization, autofocus, the same focal length as the 35mm lens if you use the Metabones Speedbooster, and you're all set. It's a great option. Plus, in the future, you can buy additional lenses that are EF mounts and save a ton of money. Anywho, that's just my opinion and recommendation. Do you guys agree? Or what else do you suggest? Let me know. Like, share, and as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. After I filmed this shoot, I dropped off my 5D Mark IV to have C-Log installed. I'll tell you how that goes next time. Take care, guys.